Hi, I'm Dr. Wendy LeBorgne, and I'm here today to talk to you as the NATS Vocal Wellness Coordinator for December. As we come into these cold weather winter months, one of the things we see all the time is singers with scarves around their necks. Sometimes I see singers with scarves around their necks and their mouths, even during the summer months. But certainly during the winter months, covering your nose and mouth is not uncommon. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about why do we do this? Does it actually make any difference as far as keeping you vocally healthy? And what is the purpose of doing it in the first place? So first of all, you need to make sure that you have a good looking scarf if you're going to put it around your nose and your mouth. I'm just kidding. But from a style standpoint, we can certainly use it as a fashion statement and for another day. So if we want to talk about wrapping your nose or your mouth with a scarf, why do we do it? Well, what happens with cold air, number one, is that cold air dries out the mucous membranes of both the nose and the mouth and the pharynx. When you dry it out too much, what ends up happening is you become more prone to getting colds or upper respiratory infections because the mucus that is very used to helping you filter these germs can't filter the germs because it's all dried up. So theoretically, by covering your nose and your mouth, you're breathing in your own humid air. And in doing that, you're able to keep these nasal and oral passages moisturized a little bit, especially when that air is very cold and very dry. One of the other things that you want to consider during these cold, dry months is making sure that your nasal passages are adequately moisturized. That doesn't necessarily mean neti potting on a regular basis. However, you may want to use a saline nasal spray, or there are even saline gels that you can take on a Q-tip very lightly and put on the inside of each nostril, especially before bed or other things, to help keep those passages moisturized. You do the same thing for your lips and your really dry hands by putting lotion on them. You want to make sure that the Q-tips are clean, that you are not cross-contaminating. So once you use that, throw it out. If you have saline, do not share it with anyone else. And you want to make sure that you replace that saline nasal spray on a regular basis because you don't want to get germs in that. My personal preference is actually to use a pediatric nasal spray simply because the mist is generally finer than the adult nasal spray. To keep things humidified adequately within your home, you can use either a whole house humidifier, which is very useful, especially if you have a piano, like I have this piano here, and we have a whole house humidifier instead of just one on the piano to try to keep things at a relatively constant humidity level so that things stay in tune as much as possible. You want your body to stay in tune as much as possible too. So a cool mist or a warm air humidifier will both work, depending on the size of the space you want to humidify. If it's a small room, you just need a small humidifier. If it's a big room, you want to think about potentially a humidifier that does more space. So from a warm mist humidifier standpoint, you want to make sure that it's away from children because the biggest risk there is that you would get burned. Also, if you have really hard water, you want to make sure that you use distilled water in that system because otherwise what ends up happening is you get a lot of the buildup of the minerals on your humidifier. If you want to go the cool mist humidifier route, you have to make sure that those filters are cleaned out regularly so that they do not develop mold on the system. So we don't want mold and we don't want hard water buildup. So again, proper care and maintenance of those is really important. So make sure to read the instructions. I don't have a personal favorite brand, but you do want to make sure that you're adequately humidified, especially during these cold winter months. Now, this may not hold true to our friends in Florida who are naturally humidified all the time, but certainly those of us who are living in the north are dealing with the humidity or lack thereof during the winter months. When we find our skin is dry and your hands are dry, you can actually notice that your vocal fold and vocal status changes simply because of the humidity changes. Finally, one of the things that you can do, especially if you travel, and we've talked a little bit about this before, is make sure that you take steamy showers and that you let the steam sort of fill that bathroom when you are showering. It does not do much for those of us who have curly hair and it gets super humidified. However, it is really good for the mucous membranes to have extra moisture that comes from the humidity in the air. If you can have plants and keep them alive, keep plants alive. They add some humidity to the room. Anything that you can think of that adds a little bit of humidity is really important. Sometimes people leave a pot of water on the stove or on a fireplace, depending an old wood stove. If you have one of those, we used to keep a pot of water on there just to add some moisture to the air. So any of those things may help. And again, wrap up with that scarf if you feel like the air outside is super cold and dry. If you're a runner outside, you want to make sure that you cover that mouth and face when you go outside for a run. I hope this has been helpful to keep things moisturized during the cold winter months, and I hope you have a very happy holiday, whatever you celebrate. Again, this is Dr. Wendy coming to you as the NATS Vocal Wellness Coordinator. I will see you next month. For more information about what's going on at NATS, please visit nats.org. Have a great day.